you make a movie and you ask your friend to relive these horrific events. But in my mind, I was like, well, he's only got to do it this one time. And then I didn't expect the movie to be successful. So now he's
helping you with the press tour.
And he's courageous, and he hates the word heroic, but he's not going to say no to any question anyone asks. That's just not him. But it's just like I'm starting to go. This is maybe it's time for me to do a talking squirrel movie next or something.
Well, as a friend, I mean, do you feel a sort of responsibility, like I got you involved in this, and now you have to open sort of the Pandora's box of your life?
Definitely.
Yeah. Barry, great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you
for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure and an honor, my honor to speak to such comedy legends. I grew up in Boston, so I'm.
Wow.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah. So I was well aware of the.
Okay.
I think my dad took me to see Stephen Wright when I was like 12 or something at one of your
mine
places,
too.
and yeah. So I'm very aware of the story of Barry.
At the maternity ward.
Wow.
Well, Bob, let me begin by asking you, if I could. Obviously you've known Barry a long time.
Yeah.
At what point did you sort of say, there's a story here, there's a film?
Oh, it's really clear.
Okay.
He had written an article in the Boston Phoenix that was about his taking AOL to task on the floor of the Senate during a judiciary hearing. And it had all the elements of a Frank Capra, movie. He's the little guy, and he's standing up for children that were being abused and raped, and he embarrassed this behemoth, this giant corporation, and he gives a passionate speech, and it was like everything, a good
was
story.
Was it the speech you open on?
It's
that was anti-war.
That was the anti-war.
No, that was the beginning of the wars that have never stopped since then. I'm proud of where I've remained consistent.
Been on the right side of history with that.
I think so.
So he no, it was the on the stuff that's on the Senate floor, and so he'd written this really like I said, well written, funny article, and it felt like a Capra movie. And right after he had written it, I had asked him if he was interested in writing a screenplay, but it was much too soon. So I think this movie happened when it should have happened, and I'm glad it didn't happen the way I initially wanted it, with an actor playing him and a narrative,
Well, I mean, he was always a prodigy, and he's a prodigy filmmaker, but he's become such an incredibly talented and special filmmaker. And also the whole part about the independent film. I mean, I learned a lot about the politics of film from just working with him and watching him maintain his autonomy, to realize his vision and not make a big deal out of it, and not talk about the hardships he suffers and how hard he works to maintain that autonomy, to realize these visions, that someday there will be a collection of his work, that'll be, and I'm just proud to be part of the canon. I mean, I really am. I mean, he's a magnificent filmmaker with a great humanitarian eye and gutsy as hell on top of it. It's a remarkable combination of different skills and insights and special, genius that he has. So I'm thrilled to be
thank
part
you.
of it. Take it. Take it for once.
But no, I just
damn take it. I'm hero boy all the time.
It just hit me. It just hit me. Like, now I understand how uncomfortable he's been feeling, because I've just been saying the same kind of stuff about him. So,
because I stepped back and I tried not to loom on this thing, because I wanted people to tell the truth. Let it be what they think happened. Everybody has different versions of things. There's some stuff in the movie I'm not particular. Like, when people are worried about me and the child pornography investigation, I'm thinking, every time I see that, I go, yeah, I'm worried about the kids in the pictures. It's not about me. And I couldn't have not. If I hadn't done that, it would have been the scariest thing ever. It would be like walking into a room, seeing something horrible happening, going, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say anything, and walk away. I couldn't have lived with that. So, I mean, it's like cowardice as far as I'm concerned. I knew what would have happened to me if I kept my mouth shut about that stuff. So I did whatever I could, and it was draining and difficult, and I didn't, but I couldn't really acknowledge it to keep doing it at the time. But then when Bob asked me almost right away, "This is a great story," I just went, it's not a great story now for me, because at that point, to review it would have been to sort of take an inventory of what it took out of me then. And I had kind of used everything I had for a while with that. But it turned out to be this great part of my healing in the long run. This great part. I got out of my own way, and I did stuff for others. And I could relate to the others because I had been there. And so it was a magnificent opportunity from a horrible circumstance, and Bob saw the story there right away, and I felt guilty about not being able to deliver immediately. But I mean, talk about things working out the way they should, to be part of this now, you know. And false modesty aside, because I'm just really proud to be part of this project, and that's all I am, is part of this project. A lot of it's hung on my story, but it's about everybody, and it affects a lot more people. It affects every single one of us. This crap is in your life somewhere. You're dealing with somebody, you can't figure out what the hell's the matter with them or what their problem, you know. You can bet that in many cases it's going to trace back to something like this or some sort of trauma. And so I'm really happy that he turned his genius on this, and he became, I mean, you know, and as great as he was naturally, he's become a much, you know, he's more sophisticated than he was then, and it's a pretty difficult story to tell. It was, I mean, and I didn't know how he was going to do it, because we didn't go back and forth on the structure of the film.
Let me ask you that, Bob, because I'm curious. You had made feature films, narrative films. This is your first documentary.
Yeah.
So you made the choice that the story is best told as a documentary.
Right.
Was there an adjustment for you as a filmmaker, and were you prepared for what exactly the story was going to become? More than just Barry and, and his
kind of even
comedic
structurally,
world.
I knew where we were going with the movies. Things changed that affected the movie. You know, Barry, you know, he and I had a big argument about him going into the basement. I was just filming the space. I just thought I didn't want to do any reenactments.
Yeah, me either. But as ever, Bob, in this film, every time it was a choice between what he felt was my well-being and his film. And you understand, as an independent filmmaker, every time he makes a film, he's putting his entire career on the line. So he put his entire career on the line for me, and yet he would take a hit for the film before he would risk any damage, any injury to me. But I knew I had to go into that. I wasn't going to go to that building, stand outside, and give it that kind of power. I needed to walk in there one way or the other, and I knew that on my own. And so I said to him, "You can film it or not. I'm going in there. I'm not going to let it loom like that." And it was important for me to look at those stairs where I saw my sister caught, and you could see it in the film, and it's a very important part of the film. And I'm glad that I did it. And I also was very important for me to take the onus off the place for any children that have been there and will be there. I didn't want to, as I said in the film, make a shrine to a demon, and it came out really well. But his first instinct was always to protect his friend, and that's duly noted and magnificently appreciated. And when you consider what an indie filmmaker goes through, for him to possibly diminish his film and his art to protect me, man, what a guy.
Well, I'm really glad he went down there. No, I am too. I mean, just, you know, story-wise, but I know, I also love, so that did change. That was something that wasn't in the story that was in my head, you know, it works on so many levels, you know. You know, anybody that's watching the movie that might wonder if Barry's not completely through the other side, that shows you there, you know. And there's other inklings, you know. One of the things I haven't really discussed much, one of the reasons why I wanted to make this movie was when the man who had did these rapes on Barry when he was a child died in prison. Barry said to me that he was sad, and I said, "Is it because you don't have any closure? You won't be able to confront the guy?" And he says, "No, he died alone." And
he had a bad life. He had been abused as a kid too, and you know, the reason the film's called "Call Me Lucky" is because I didn't get so damaged that I became a perpetrator, and that's the case with most people, you know. But most perpetrators were damaged, and so I felt, you know, I carrying around the toxicity of hatred and bloodlust and revenge and that stuff is, you know, that wouldn't honor me as a sweet little kid. That's who that kid was, and I'm still that kid, you know, and so you know, that's who I was, and that's who I stay. As I say, I was born without blood on my hands, and I aim to keep it that way. And Bob has really helped me with that.
But you know, when he said that, you know, it was just so heavy to me, you know, that I was just like,
you kind of busted. You say like you. I think you could call. I'm not sure, but I think you called me back the next day and go, listen.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you 100% sure?
Are you telling me? And I go, wow, it's not it's not, you know, it's not, yeah, I'm not, because I didn't become what I resisted, you know.
Yeah.
I still got to be me. And me as a soft-hearted guy, as gruff and whatever I am, I'm a soft-hearted guy.
It was a great documentary. We're unfortunately out of time.
Okay,
I could talk to you guys all day, but
Thank
congratulations
you.
and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Honor to meet you.
Oh, thanks.
Really great seeing you again, Bob. Thank you so much.
Thank you.